It's Monday morning, and guess what? It's time for the Influencers Podcast again. Thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast live from Atlanta, Georgia. This is Dr. Bill Williams, and I'm excited to have a very interesting program today. We're going to be talking with Aviel Eidels, co-founder and CEO of Stoic Media up in New York City area. We're talking Brooklyn here. So Aviel, come on and let us see what's going on in the world of Brooklyn, New York. You got a good summer going on?
Yeah, so far everything's been great. Great talking to you, Bill. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, I was really keyed and interested about Stoic Media. I didn't know much about what you were going to talk about, and then we got to discussing stoicism, and it led into a really interesting conversation. So I think you guys in the audience today are going to enjoy this. This is going to be out of the box, higher level stuff than you're used to. I think this is going to be some fun. And so what I want to do is I want to ask Aviel, give us the story about how stoicism led to Stoic Media.
You got it, Bill. So I guess I have to take a step back to explain to you where all this came from. So back in 2018, I want to say, I read this book from Edward Griffin. The name of the book is called The Creature of Jekyll Island. It's a book about how the U.S. Federal Reserve was created in the beginning of the 20th century. And at the time, if you recall, back in 2018, the U.S. was going through a period of time where it was pretty much printing a lot of money, right? What normal people or economists would say, quantitative easing. At the time, the U.S. was going through the fourth round of quantitative easing, which meant the U.S. deficit and the U.S. debt at the moment was exponentially growing. And it got me thinking about people's power to control their wealth, right? And their savings. And this goes back also to Stoicism, right? So Stoicism is a Greek philosophy, ancient Greek philosophy. The fathers of Stoicism are Seneca, Epictetus, and Epicurus. And in a nutshell, trying to summarize all this philosophy, basically says people should focus and invest their energy and time on things they can control. And they should not care about those things they cannot control. And they should not let those things that cannot control impact their emotions. So again, at the time, the US was printing a lot of money. The US Fed was printing a lot of money. And I got somewhat paranoid on, the people's power to save money. And at the time I thought, hey, what if I founded a company that could help people hedge against losing their power of earnings. And so what I did is found Stoic Me, right? Stoic Me, which is now Stoic Me LLC, was a company dedicated to selling gold and silver bullion online. And why is that? As you can tell, precious metals are things that are limited and finite. And there's not one entity or government that can print more gold and silver, which are, in a sense, the most ancient way of money, right? Of actual physical money. So at the time I tried to, again, I started up my startup called Stoic Me, and it was focused on selling gold and silver bullion online. I started doing that, but that required a significant capital investment, which at the time I was not able to find or raise. And so while initially it was a lot of fun, it was very hard to keep up with all things related to having a startup focused on selling bullion online. So I had to stop that because I just couldn't make the numbers work for me. And I got very frustrated. However, given my background, which has been working on the ad tech and digital ad sales industry for a number of years, I had to pivot my startup from selling bullion online to producing media online. So instead of Stoic Me, which again was focused on making myself or those who would buy bullion online stoic because they can control again, their earnings and their savings through bullion, saving bullion. I pivoted into Stoic media, right? So that has pretty much nothing to do with the previous line of business that I was focusing on. So yes, so I founded with my co-founder Leora. We founded Stoic Media, and the philosophy of Stoicism we then transferred into the media space, which is very different. And we're calling the company, and that's how we're going to market right now. We've been going to market for the past 4 years. It's called Stoic Media because we have the same philosophy with the creators that work on our platform and our clients, right? So we're focusing on things that we can control, and we're not letting those that we cannot control impact the business. So, and I'll speak more about that in a minute if that's something that you would say is interesting. But that's pretty much where stoicism comes into play. Does that make sense, Bill?
It's right on target, and it tied together some questions people have about how it started up, how it came to be, and how you named it. So beautiful job. You took your passion and you transferred it into your needs, what you were loving to do, what you had to meet so you could continue. So that's totally understandable. Now, going back to stoicism and the QE question, that rings a real bell with me because we see the inflationary pressures that are on our economy right now based on the Fed and what they're doing. It seems to me that quantitative easing is something that is using wordplay, the way they name bills in Congress to sound like they're good for you, but they're really castor oil. They're medicine, but they don't taste good. But they may not be actually good for you, like some jabs we've heard about in the past. Forced down your throat or into your arm based on somebody's philosophy of I'm going to fix things. So, yeah, what do you think about politicians? This is kind of a political question, but politicians who give solutions where the medicine's worse than the disease. Is that part of what QE does?
Well, that's a very deep question, and we could spend hours talking about this. I want to caveat my answer by saying I'm not an economist, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not a politician. And to be fully transparent, I do not know much about politics. I don't like to dive too much into that. But I'll say this: politics will be politics wherever they are, right? They will usually work while sharing, policy and ideas. There's a lot of personal interest there always, and it's a human factor that comes into play. It's unavoidable. Now, yes, quantitative easing, I believe, is a very temporary fix to a much broader problem. And since the Romans and again the Greeks, Egyptians, and so on, each one of the powers and empires in the past has had their own currency, their own fiscal and economic policy. And past has proven to everybody that there's not one single currency in the past that has remained beyond the temporary state of that particular empire, right? Whenever an empire falls, along with it falls its currency and all its economic power and everything that derives from it. The only form of money in the past that has remained is gold and silver, right? It's just a fact. Go back 3,000, 5,000 years. How many currencies has humanity seen? All of them, right? Thousands of them, and not one has remained till today, other than gold and silver. So again, back to quantitative easing, and this was in 2018. If you look at the U.S. national debt back in the day, back in 2018, I think it was 21 or 22 trillion. If you read that same number today, which is September 11, 2023, I think it's ranging to $30 trillion dollars, which is insane. It's an insane amount of money, and the deficit of this year's deficit is looking to be the biggest it's ever been. So if you look at it in a curve, right, through time, it's exponentially, both the deficit and the national debt are exponentially increasing. So yes, inflationary powers are in place, and everybody feels it in their pocket nowadays. So again, not as an economist, just as a normal person looking for my own interests, which are trying to control what I can control, at least from a money savings and power back purchasing power. I still believe that a hedge against quantitative easing and inflationary pressures is, yes, owning some gold and silver, which are the oldest forms of money.
So basically, if you don't trust the government, then you pretty much need to hedge your bets, because they're losing control of the dollar. And we have to have alternatives, whether it's in real estate, where it's in gold, where there's physical assets of some sort.
Correct.
The escalation of the problem will only get worse if we don't make a change in government. So that's the hardest part. Can we change the government? Which is not something we'll have power to discuss and change today. But we do have a chance to find out, some mistakes people make in their investing, and getting gold, getting silver into a portfolio might be an area. In general, as you study investment techniques and strategies, what's the greatest failure most people make?
So failure is a loaded word. At least I'm 41 years old, and I've made a bunch of mistakes in my life, for sure. And what I've seen is the biggest mistake is seeing a failure as an actual failure, right? And I'm going to pause to again just repeat that. Failures are not failures. It's just the wrong way of interpreting a fact or an event. I'll give you an example. And I'm not going to call out which companies. I used to work at a company a few years ago, and yes, I got laid off. And at the time, I thought it was such a failure, because I'd worked so hard into working in this place, and things that I could not control happen, and I was let go, and it felt like such a failure from a personal and professional point of view, that at the time I got really angry, and I pointed fingers and to other people that made mistakes that caused this this thing to happen to me. Fast forward to today, it might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. Failure seemed like a failure at that specific point in time, but it was not. It was just an event that I could not control. It was an event that later ended up benefiting me, but that at that specific point in time, I was not able to handle in a mature, reasonable way. So again, I think the biggest failure for people is seeing failures as failures. They're not. They're just events in life from which we all need to learn to overcome. And as time passes by, we will later be able to see a broader picture of things, and we will understand that what we thought it was a failure, it was actually not. It was just one of those other elements in life that helped us get to where we are today.
I'm right there with you on, failure tends to teach best. And my best example is I sold my first practice, and I took the note back from the buyer, and ended up, 2 years later, taking back the practice when he had some unfortunate events in his life, couldn't pay the bills. And I didn't have any, upfront money to speak of. So I just basically gave him 2 years worth of my profits. And then when it didn't work out, it was not my problem. Yeah, it was my problem. So the second time I sold it, I got cash up front, and that was the end of that. If he failed or succeeded, it wouldn't hurt me. So yeah, you can learn from mistakes. And I would say my bigger mistake on that first sale was I gave the broker like 50 grand to make the transaction. So he's the one that won. The other two of us lost. What motivates you to keep going? What's your internal? And I really got a sense of it when you start talking about the Stoicism philosophy.
Yeah, so that's also a great question, and I also think it has to do with a certain point of life where I am right now. I'm a father of three, and my three are very young. They're 6, 4, and 1, and motives throughout life change depending on the life stage that each one of us is living. So my current life stage is every morning. It sounds very cliche, but it is true. Every morning, what motivates me is my children, my wife, and trying to make the best out of things so that we can all have a good life and so we can enjoy as much as we can the time that we have on this earth.
Family first definitely rings a bell with me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It took me a long time to learn that, though. I have to tell you, I was business first for so many years. What about your company motto?
So the company motto, I think it splits into two, and yes, it does go back to stoicism. And me and my business partner, we whenever we have all hands or company-wide calls or meetings, we reiterate to everyone, don't get caught up on things that you cannot control. All right, focus on the things that you're good at, and don't let other things that you're not able to control have a negative impact on your work, on your happiness, on your personal perception of things, because that will definitely not be good for you. So that's one thing. The second company motto is, and this also goes back to my experience working in multiple different big corporations and big companies. In the past, I used to work in organizations where, there's so many steps in terms of hierarchy, right? There's, CEO, and then presidents and EVPs, SVPs, VPs, managing directors, associate directors, managers. And so there's this corporate ladder that I found at the time very annoying and not very useful. It actually bugged people down more than helped them aspire to bigger things. So the second motto in our company is, you are your own boss. All right, and you'll notice this from Stoic Media. It's a fairly horizontal organization. There are no managers, there are no bosses, there are no directors, there are no VPs. There's no such ladder that other companies have, because whenever we go through the interviewing process, what we tell those candidates is, this is a company, this is an organization where you're going to earn the money that you want to earn, but you need to be an adult and you need to be taking care of your own things, making sure that you deliver the work that you promised in a timely manner, and that you that you work in a way that is professional. And we don't hire teenagers or children here. This is not kindergarten. This is Stoic Media, and we expect adults to behave like adults. And if you do that, you'll end up owning your time, earning the amount of money that you want to earn, and you'll be doing the things that you like to do, right? If you're a video editor, if you're a journalist, which are type of roles that work within the company, these are people that like what they do every single day. They are passionate about their work. So if you behave in a way that is responsible, if you behave like an adult within the tasks that you need to be doing every single day, there will be no micromanaging. You don't need a boss. You don't need a manager to tell you what to do. right? So we try to set the right expectations across the board so that people are left alone to do whatever they need to do in order to be blissful and find happiness professionally. And so that is the second motto, right? Be an adult, be responsible. Don't expect other people to carry your load. So that's
kind of refreshing to hear. I've interviewed a lot of people, but that has never come up before, to be a responsible adult in your behavior. We're too much into the snowflake generation issues and safe spaces and wokeism right now. People are a little tired of that because it's disrupted business, it's disrupted lives around the country. So I think that's refreshing. A lot of people that are listening now probably are clapping their hands going, right on, Aviel, that's a good point of view. So I think that's wise. I think more companies should be hiring adults and not being so worried about what other people are thinking. What about your top 3 success secrets? You got anything you would say that you can share with the audience that you can say you're successful and you should model these 3 success secrets?
So that question also assumes that there is a point where people reach success. I also do not believe in that, right? So what is success, right? Is that capital? Is that making money? Is that, does that mean selling your company? Success? What is success? I don't believe in that.
From stoicism coming out in the open, we'll have to have a definition. How do we approach success, right?
Right. The definition from stoicism, if you are successful, it means that you're happy. That is success in life. You found a way to be happy throughout, doing the things that you can't control. That's pretty much it, right? So again, if I take your question, what are the top 3 success secrets? I would say 1, focus on those things that you can control. 2nd, do the things that you love. 3, don't waste your time on things that are not going to have a positive impact in your life, right? Don't spend time with people who are going to, who are going to potentially do you wrong, or going to, have you waste your time. The only asset that is final within people's lives is time, right? Money, you can make more, you can throw your money away, but it's an asset that there's always more of. Time is the one thing that each one of us has a limited amount of. So again, to find success, use your time wisely, do the things that you like to do, and try to find happiness doing those things that you like to do. And don't let those other things have a negative impact on you, because you're not going to be able to control them anyway. So that's pretty much it.
Again, that's refreshing. It's a new way of looking at age-old truths, the Greeks' philosophy translated into modern times. Tell us, Aviel, why should somebody buy from you in Stoic Media?
I think we are the folks that collaborate within our firm are really professional. They legitimately love what they do every single day. And because we focus on content production and content creation, I believe that when people focus on what they like to do, they pretty much tend to be their best at what they do. So if a company, a person, institution, organization, whomever wants to engage with Stoic Media, I would say that we produce really, really high quality content by people who love what they do. And most likely we'll end up producing the stuff that clients want to see and want to, again, run other platforms and showcase within their own networks. So that's pretty much why.
I get a sense that it's to the point, on purpose, and it's not frivolous. Just talking to you and listening to you, it's like you get a sense of conservative but avant-garde at the same time.
Yeah, you could put it that way. Yeah, maybe.
Not frivolous. That's the thing. It's like it's got some meaning, some meat to it. If you want to go with, being a carnivore, because it's got some meat to it. How about your ideal client? Who would that be?
I think the ideal client is a client who's interested in thinking a little bit outside the box. I'll tell you this, regardless of the industry from where our clients are working or the products, whether they're selling or services, what we found is that usually when they engage with us, they kind of have a broad idea of what they need, but they don't have a very clear idea on how to go about executing that idea. So the ideal client is one that is interested in doing things differently, but that doesn't necessarily know how to go about doing that.
Have they failed with somebody already and want to find a new track? Is that it, partly?
Well, here's the thing. I'm sure you've seen the world is changing so rapidly nowadays, and it's only going to continue to do so in the foreseeable future. So there are firms who have done things in a certain way in the past, but that for some reason that those ways are no longer working for them in today's world. So what does that mean? If they engage with somebody like us, we're going to help them look at the media landscape in a different way. We're going to help them produce content that is meaningful to their current and potential new clients, and we're going to go that extra mile for them and in helping them navigate the landscape that they don't necessarily understand how it works nowadays. There's so many new platforms going out, formats in terms of media formats, from 3D now to extended animations and AI and VR and there's so many things going on that they just, this is not their areas of expertise. They're actually looking for a third party that can help them navigate the landscape, tell them how to execute the idea that they want to execute in the most accurate way that doesn't necessarily cost them a whole lot of money, right? Or that isn't overwhelming in terms of investment. So that's the ideal client.
How to find them? Are they in one place in the world? You go over there and you just open the door and there they are, or you have to kind of scratch around?
We do all those things, all the above. So I would say more than half of our business has been from mouth to mouth, word of mouth recommendations and referrals. But we also do a lot of biz dev, right? So we spend a whole lot of time on platforms like LinkedIn. And why? Because our business is B2B. And so LinkedIn, we found, is a very good platform when it comes to engaging with other companies and being able to do business development. Trying to find folks that we could know that they're interested in our services.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what top platforms you like to use, and you mentioned LinkedIn. Anything else come to mind?
I would say LinkedIn. We focus mostly on LinkedIn, and I'm sure LinkedIn has a bunch of features and add-ons and there are extensions and there's so many things that go around LinkedIn. But I think they've done a great job of creating a platform that is professional, that is transparent, and that is accurate in terms of portraying the roles and showcasing the accurate information around companies and people. So
B2B, definitely. I find, most of my interviews that I get for the Influencer podcast are as a result of doing a certain algorithm, looking for a certain type of person on LinkedIn. And if you had to work with a company, even your own company, do you guys use paid digital media in the Facebooks and Googles of the world?
Yes. So we do run ads sometimes. I would say the only platform where we spend for digital ads is LinkedIn ads, right? So because of the nature of our company, sometimes we grow in terms of headcount when we have a really large project. And when that project is done, sometimes we tend to contract. So whenever we need to hire new people, then we definitely do LinkedIn ads. And they're really good at converting for the type of profile that we need to hire in that specific moment.
So
when it comes to Facebook, Google, and other platforms, for our business specifically, we haven't found the ROI as much as we found it in LinkedIn ads.
what about the percentage? Being an expert in the area, maybe what do you recommend people spend on the paid digital media as a percentage?
That is a very relative question because it really depends on the type of business, right? If you're a B2B, if you're B2C, if you're doing e-commerce, if you're doing branded, it really depends, Bill. I would take a step back and first analyze the type of business. If there's an ROI model already in place, if it's a very long period of time for conversion, right? For example, our business, usually the sales cycle is 4 to 6 months, and attribution when it comes to digital ads, regardless of the platform, is really hard to measure. Why? Because again, by the time you convert, a prospect into an actual client, there's so much time has passed by. There have been so many conversations. They've engaged with our brand in different ways. So how exactly do you attribute the platform that has played the most important part when it comes to that specific conversion? It's hard to say. I know there are folks out there, that do a whole lot of digital and social analytics, and they would probably push back on me and say, hey, they're linear attributions or exponential attribution. There's so many ways to do attribution when it comes to digital ads conversions. But specifically for our business, it's hard to say how much people should spend on digital media, right? It comes down to the business model, the size of the business, brand equity. There's so many things that come into play that I would hate to say, this percentage of money should be spent on all these platforms. I don't think that's a good answer.
Well, I think your answer is right on target with what I generally see, because I do talk to a lot of marketers, and if you're e-commerce based, it's going to be a high number because you don't have any overhead to speak of. And then when you're talking about things like dental practice that I was consulting for 20, 30 years, 3 to 5% of your gross income is marketing expense. Mm-hmm. You can't spend much because you got such high overhead. Mm-hmm. And most of the dental business is word of mouth. So exactly. Yeah, we have some interesting reasons for asking that question. By the way, Aviel, we had a way we found to save people 50 to 90% on LinkedIn and Google and Facebook ad purchases. So we always throw that out. If there's a company using those services, they ought to talk to us about that. Mm. If you have companies that want to save that much, you can definitely find that out.
Yep.
Tell us how you start your day up there in Brooklyn.
So how do I start my day? It's going to sound not too professional, but yes, I have to change diapers every single morning.
Hey, 1-year-old, they don't care when and where, it's whatever.
So, we're a family of 3 and three children plus my wife and I. So we're 5. Everybody wakes up at the same time, and we kind of try to divide and conquer, my wife and I, and I'm usually the one changing my youngest's diapers in the morning. So that's exactly how I start my day.
Yeah.
After that, I have my cup of coffee, but that's
you define success a different way, of course. So the sweet smell of success rings a bell. I have had my grandchildren living with us for the last 2 years, pretty much. So I understand what you're talking about, going from about 2 to 5 on my youngest. So still in that phase.
That's right.
Hey, getting back to client experience, what's the 5-star client experience they get from your company?
So client experience has a direct one-to-one correlation with the expectations that we set. All right. So throughout time, I've learned the hard way. that if people or companies do not set the right expectations, they will never cause have a great client experience, because interests and expectations are just not aligned. So we've worked really hard into setting those expectations prior to engaging with or executing a task or a campaign or production with specific clients, because again, if we're not telling them what's going to happen in a very detailed way, most likely they're going to be expecting a different outcome. So how do we deliver a 5-star client experience? We make sure that the right expectations are well set way before we engage in business. So that's the way.
Always under promise and over deliver is a standard answer. And knowing what to promise and knowing what you can deliver is where you start. You have to know your product, know yourself.
That's right.
It goes from successful client to brand ambassador that speaks in your behalf. In my business, that was the reason we grew and stayed so strong for so many years. We had such a loyal base of customers, patients, and they would just talk about us all over town. How do you create that in your business, the marketing business, so that they will spread the word?
I've also found that even though the agency world or the marketing landscape sounds like a huge space, it's actually not that big. People tend to know of each other in this industry, right? It's there's some attrition in terms of people who change from one company to the other, which is great. But overall, it is not such a massive industry where people just don't know about each other. Actually, within throughout time, you get to know key stakeholders, competition, and I would say it's a very healthy industry. People, companies tend to help each other in any possible way they can. And if they cannot help each other, they usually refer to other third parties that could come in and help. If something's happening and you need assistance from other players in the industry. Now, going back to your question, I would say word of mouth is very important, and so it's also very important to make sure that there are no scammers out there, that you don't overpromise and underdeliver, right? Because the word's going to get out for sure. So just try. People should just try to do the things that they do in the best possible way. Reach out to those that you trust, and most likely they'll come back to you with help. And just try to be as transparent as possible and keep the BS away from those conversations. Understood.
I think the brand ambassador concept has taken hold, particularly in the last 5 or 6 years. And the more you can build your base of good vibes, good reputation, it's going to carry you a long way. Mm-hmm. Talking about experience and having come through a lot, what would you look back at your young self and give advice to that 20-year-old Aviel?
So that's a great question. I would say, have faith, have a lot of faith. So, more often than not, I've found myself, and this goes back to when, I was a young, teenager, early 20s. I would sometimes feel lost. I would sometimes put a lot of pressure on me, and I would feel alone on those things that I would try to do. And I would say, have faith in yourself, have faith in the things that you believe in. And there's this, bigger force in this planet that will assist you, will support you in getting there. There's so many things I'm not being able to explain why those things happen, and in the way that in those ways that they did happen. And now, looking back, it just seems like there's this bigger force, call it God, call it destiny, call it, the universe, regardless of your religion, regardless of if you believe in a bigger force or, higher entity, there's just something out there that, will help you make things work, right? So I would say the advice that I would give to my 20-year-old is, have faith. Don't get too stressed about failure, which again, I don't think it's failure. Don't get too stressed about not being able to make ends meet. Things will happen, and you should be okay with it, and try to focus on those things that make you happy. And stress gets you nowhere. It's easy to say, and I still get stressed even today. But if you try to rationalize it, try not to stress about those things that you're not able to control. Try to put the best energy in the things that you're doing, and life will happen, and it'll be okay.
I'm glad you started off. You're talking about books you read. You read the book The Creature of Jekyll Island, and we always say you're going to be who you are based on, in the next 5 years, the books you've read and the people you've met. And that was a famous saying by a motivating speaker. And I use that all the time because it's true. You're influenced by others, and you're influenced by thoughts from the past. And you brought up so beautifully, the Greeks have influenced you to move forward, the writings of the Greeks in their books. So culture is developed by following, the wisdom that's been laid down before us. Don't take it for granted. It's got something to add. But talking about today, who's your living mentor? Who do you actually follow today, and what's been their impact on you?
So I would say, so those three were they're not around anymore, right? Seneca, Epictetus, and Epicurus.
I saw them last week, though, down at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, right. I wish. I would say the living person who I would say would be my mentor, or whom I very much admire, would be Ray Dalio. He's one of the most prestiged hedge fund managers. But I'm not saying that I admire him because of the wealth that he's accumulated over time. More so, I think he has a very clear idea on how to go about living and addressing problems. And he's published a number of books. Ray Dalio's, I think the last one is Principles. And he basically outlines, I think he wrote that book over a 40-year period of time or something like that. And he basically, spent a lot of time on trying to write down the principles of how to go about, building wealth and managing problems and managing people. And so I would say he's a great mentor, even though I've never met him personally.
Yeah, every profession or every niche that you get into has its own guru, impact person. And early on, it was L.D. Pankey in dentistry. And then later on, Homer Reed out in Scottsdale, Arizona, Phoenix. And we tend to follow philosophers a lot when we talk about who impacts us most. People who actually sift thought and put it on paper and then explain it to us. So I've enjoyed that. Avram King was a fellow that was not a dentist, but he was teaching in the dental space, and his concepts of abundance versus scarcity, and how you don't have to live with just what people say is available. You can create your own abundance. Mm-hmm. He impacted me a great deal. That your ability to influence your life starts with you believing that you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. So go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I totally agree with you. We'll have our own internal power to make things happen. and it's just a matter of taking that first step. I think the hardest thing to do in life is take the first step into going somewhere, doing something new. Once you take that first step, next steps will follow. And it's just like right now, I'm looking at my baby, now a toddler. He's taking his first steps. It was actually this last weekend. He took his first steps by himself, and you could tell that the first step for him was really hard to take. And as soon as he took that one, the next foot just followed through. And I think it's the same with life. We all have the power to do that. It's just a matter of thinking about it. Encouraging ourselves to take that step and just going for it.
Great analogy. Baby steps, getting one more foot forward is all it takes. Why is being impactful important to you, Aviel?
That's also a loaded question. What does being impactful mean? I would say, we're all going to be in this earth for just a small blip of time, right? We're in the existence of Earth. We're just a small spark within so much time. So being impactful is maybe leaving this world in a better state that we found it. That's for me being impactful. If that means impacting other people so that then they can turn to other people at the same time and make a positive impact in their lives or in the world, that's great. If it means environmentally, planting trees or picking up garbage, walking on a beach, I think being impactful can be as small as, again, giving somebody a hand when you see they're bumped down, all through, like, again, just planting trees. At Stoic Media, we have a pretty cool initiative that we started about 1.5 years ago, and we're committed to planting more than 5,000 trees per year. And we partner with certified partners that focus on planting trees. So, if it means, environmentally, leaving this earth in a much better way than we found it, that's great. If it means personally with other people, it's great. If it's professionally with folks that need help or are interested in working in a specific field, that's great too.
Excellent. Hey, I want to ask you, and this is kind of following up on impact. When it's all said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
I don't want to be remembered. It's not. I think it's a very ego-centered question. I want my name engraved in museums and colleges. That's. I don't believe in ego. I don't think be remembered. What does that mean? My first name, my last name. That's not something I'm looking to accomplish, at least in this lifetime. Having people know my name, I don't see too much value in that. But what I do want to do is, again, transcend. In trying to leave this world in a better place than what I found it, than how I found it.
What more could we want, really, to pass on something better than we had to our children?
Exactly. That's all. That's all that matters, at least to me. My name. It's just a name. It's just a last name, like anybody else's.
How about support? If people resonated with what you said, and I'm sure a lot of them did, as I say, very refreshing point of view and enjoyable conversation we had. How can they reach you? What's the way, the website, etc.?
Yeah. So if you Google Stoic Media, you'll find our website at the very top of the search results, most likely. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to me directly. My email is my first name, Aviel, @stoic-media.com. Or if you just want, information around us, it's info@stoic-media.com. I would say, how can you support? Just, reach out to us. And if you have questions, we'd love to talk to you. There's always business to be made. We loved engaging with new companies, new people, and feel free to reach out. either to me, my business partner, or other folks in the company. You can reach out to us also on LinkedIn. As I said, if you search for Stoic Media, most likely you will find us there. So we want to support you, right? Other than, I would say, the flip side, right? We want to support you in getting the good work that you're doing or your company's doing. We want to help you get the word out in the best possible way. And the best possible way is by creating content that is that showcases the good work that you're all doing. So that's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on creating content that explains the benefits of firms, and we help you navigate that landscape in terms of getting the word out in the best possible way.
It sounds exactly like what we're doing in the Influencers podcast, trying to get the word out, showcasing some of our most interesting friends and letting the world know they exist in a world that's filled with minutia. We want to bring out something that's a little more important than just music videos and ridiculousness like some people show. What would you say about your guest experience? Was it out of the box enough to say this was worthwhile?
It's definitely worthwhile for those listening. Bill has been great. It's actually been fun. It doesn't feel like an interview. It feels more like a conversation. And Bill, I think it's 5 out of 5 stars. And I appreciate you taking the time. And it was very very interesting and very nice speaking with you, not only today but in also in the past. So thank you, Bill. Thank you for having me.
I'm just glad you were here, Aviel. And I wanted to know about the creature from Jekyll Island because I've been there. It's in our state down here. Something nefarious was going on down there, and I want to know.
You should, I know that the creature of Jekyll Island has nothing to do with the actual book from Edward Griffin, but I encourage everyone, if they have the time and the interest, read up on that. Read that book. It definitely is very interesting. It's eye opening.
Was George Soros down in Jekyll Island at that time by any chance?
Well, this was written. I think the book was written in the 70s, but a lot of the stuff that's in there comes from the the early 20th century.
I know
when the Fed was founded, and
but George is pretty old,
Oh yes.
His granddad may have been there. Who knows? But yeah. I'm just poking fun at the manipulators of world currencies right now. But hey, what more do I know about that? I'm just a dentist.
There you go.
I'm going to give you the last word and let you speak to our audience before I come back. Okay?
You got it. Well, thank you everybody for spending time. And again, if you're interested in creating cool content for yourselves, for your companies, your firms, that's where we come in. Stoic Media is all about helping you guys get the word out in a very authentic way and in a very cost-effective way. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Bill, for your time. And if you have any questions or you want to reach out to us, you can reach out directly to me. My email is aviel@stoic-media.com. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you, Aviel. That is Aviel Eidels from Stoic Media in Brooklyn, New York. Can't say more than well done. Great job today. Enjoyed the whole time with you today. I want to share with my audience, those who are listening, that they might want to get some financial freedom. They might want to get into something good. And this QR code will take you there. So take a picture, or if that's too much difficulty, I'll show you my digital business card. You can just write down the URL that it goes to, ovu.me on Passive. And at that, you'll find two things: the podcast, all my podcasts on drbillwilliams.tv. Also has my books. I'm trying to leave a legacy. I'm trying to build up the dental profession. So I've got some good bestsellers that have been put out that have allowed people 300-400% increase in their business over a couple of years of implementation. So very proud that those people that apply the information do really well. But I'm not a dentist anymore as far as in practice. I did retire, Aviel, and I'm doing something as a hobby that really pays. I have found AI technology and what's going on in the IT world to be a natural draw for me. And so I've got a company that I work with, and we make all kinds of software. The software that's made this model of trim.co, trim is something that it's a trackable URL, but it also allows you to make not only short URLs, but custom QR codes. And we have Connect, which is our video conferencing software, which has some very unique features, particularly the way it goes to AI and our language translation service. We could go from English to Spanish to Russian to Chinese, all at one broadcast. It's simultaneous. So that's one of the features that we'll be coming out with in a short time. And one that you're probably going to be interested in, the last one I'll mention today, is OTracker, tracking websites and heat maps and location and where people go and where they've been. Everything that's in analytics for a website, you can find it on OTracker. And this is one that's much less expensive than the ones that are out there. So I'll just give you the hint. If you're a marketer, you need this. You want to see it. You probably will use it from now on once you see it. So that's pretty much it for the Influencers podcast today. I want to say thank you again to Aviel, and for all the listeners out there in 200 countries, all of you, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back again later in the week. Take care, everyone.